Alright, so I wanted to make this video to showcase what I have made in the past 4 years at Ryerson Fashion, as well as Amsterdam Fashion Institute, but mainly focusing, this is all Ryerson Fashion, so I'm going to take you through the past 4 years. Honestly, I'm just going to take you through random things here and there because this is just a mess of 4 years. The one book that I kept was my textiles. I don't think I'll ever need it. During my first year, I did take fashion design. I no longer take it or took it. And we had to design loads of dresses. So this is the one I ended up making, but we had to design 15 different dresses. And my theme was ice cream. So it was a long process. Here's all the croquis. You can see there are so many designs. And they all are kind of iterations of the same, but they're all kind of ugly. I'm not gonna lie. They're all pretty ugly. Yeah, I'm not a fashion designer. But this is the dress I ended up making from that drawing that you guys saw. It had to have some manipulations in it, so we have I don't even remember what these collars are called, to be honest. And then we have a tulip sleeve, I believe. No, this is wrong. I don't even know what they're called anymore. A bell sleeve? I don't know. This was 3 years ago at this point. This is my pattern making book. It was insane. I don't know how to design, and my fashion design experience during university, I give it an 8 out of 10. One, because I did not know how to pattern draft, I did not know how to sew, I did not know how to design, so it was a good experience, learned a lot. Will I make this a career? Absolutely not, but learned a lot. This is some drawings that we had to do in, I think it was illustration class. And we had to use texture. I think I designed these. I don't really know. Each one of these are divided by color scheme. So one's split complementary, one's analogous. Again, it was all texture based. So we had something underneath and you had to carve in the texture. I always forget that I went to fashion school because the past 2 years have been graphic design. This one is analogous. I don't even know what that means anymore, but I don't even know. I'm not gonna lie, that one was really rough. That was from first or second year. I'm not great at illustration. I rate that 5 out of 10. Terrible. But I tried. I don't have my actual magazine here, but I did a magazine on space and I loved it. It was one of my favorite things I did of my undergrad. I think these were just some beginning stages, but I really enjoyed it. Creating this is so fun. Oh, this is such a beautiful illustration. I did not make this. I was just playing off the design, but okay. This was a fun page too. I loved designing this. Phases of the Moon, movies about space. That project about space really shaped me as a graphic designer and as a layout designer, especially for magazines. That's what I ended up interning in right after that and going to Amsterdam for. So I rate that 9 out of 10 because I loved that so much and I still think it's a beautiful project. Okay, so this was terrible. This was my first iteration and he ripped it apart and I get why. It was disgustingly ugly. This was pretty good. This page pretty much stayed the same from when, yeah. This was ugly. I don't know if I have the final one here, to be honest with you. No, I definitely don't.
Okay, so those iterations I truly give a 3 out of 10. I thought they were stunning and they were terrible. My final one that you guys aren't able to see, unfortunately, I give that probably 7 or 8 out of 10 because it ended up being really great from all those iterations, but iterations, those were 3 out of 10.
I loved this class. This teacher taught me so much. Ooh. Okay, this is some really old stuff. Okay. You guys are gonna see some of my illustration work from illustration class. We had to draw nude models the first year, I think, and then the second year we were able to have clothes on the models, but you had to understand the body first. This is disgusting. I was terrible at illustration. I got a 5.7 out of 10 on this. A 57. Thank you. It's disgusting. Like, I was so bad at illustration. Oh, this one, I got a 6.7 out of 10. This was also using texture. Let's not talk about that. We don't talk about illustration class here.
Okay, so that class was legendary. I had to take illustration for 2 years for 4 semesters. I learned a lot, but I was not good at it. Like, I was terrible at illustration of people, of the male body, the female body, like fully naked. And even clothed, like I just couldn't do it. I give all of that a 4 out of 10.
Exploring form and counterform. This was a project that it was the base of my graphic design. It inspired me to become a graphic designer. So I rate this 10 out of 10. It taught me so much this project. I'm like crying thinking about it because now I'm a graphic designer. But this was one of my first projects as a graphic designer, still in fashion, but he taught me a lot, this professor. And exploring form and counterform was something huge for me. And you can tell the difference between illustration and then going digital. So that was like 5.7. This was 13 out of 15. So
this was one of the projects that really shaped who I am and shaped my career. So I truly rate this 10 out of 10. I think I did a pretty good job. I think this was my first year or my second year, first semester. So I did a good job. Give it 10 out of 10.
Okay, so this project was a very long process. So we had 3 different things we used for this project. We had to take a picture of an item. I chose like this. Here's the initial image, I believe, for the inspiration for all of this. It's like the serum from Glossier. Anyways, so we had to create a logo from that, which I ended up creating. But these logos, I like the process. I'm gonna give this 8 out of 10. This was fun to do. You're gonna see the final one. And then this one was pointillism. And I did these all out of dots, and this was so fun to do, this pointillism one. That was a joy. And, oh, maybe I do have, this was the final logo. I kind of like it. I like it a lot. I give this I can tell I didn't know what I was doing. But the effort is there, so I give this like a 9 out of 10. Like, good job, Kayla. Like, the process to get to the final is insane. Like, there's so much process, and then you have to paint them as well and iterate them. So this is like through gouache, I think. And then here is the final images that I chose to include.
Okay, that project took a very long time, but overall, everything in general, I give it a 7 out of 10.
This project caused me so much stress. So this is the initial image, and we had to make this image just out of things from our home. And this is it. I think it looks pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. The face is done with pastels, I believe, so I didn't draw. I think that was it. You just couldn't draw it. So the headband, I believe, is like out of tissue paper. This is really good. So much work to like They made you scan it, made you mount it. It was a whole process.
And that project was so stressful. Again, I'm not an illustrator. That one turned out okay. I'm not gonna lie. That one was pretty good. I give that one probably an 8 out of 10 for my illustration work. They made you do so much work for it though. Like, why did we have to scan it and mount it?
Masterpiece. So we had to design some symbols, and I wanted to do it around like a beehive. So this is the symbols I did. And then this was, yeah, the colorful beehive. And this was my mood board. And then these were my final options. So this was a bezel defect. This is a triadic color scheme, which is kind of, it gave me like very kiddish vibes. And then this one is the original color palette. And I ended up printing this one, and I printed it on, we got it printed on fabric. So I have no idea where the fabric is right now, but this 10 out of 10 project. I loved this class so much, and it created so much joy for me. Let's go through some photography. Okay, so these were my mood boards for this. It was like grounded in nature, but the accessories were clothing was very chic. These were the final ones. So it was stunning. I shot 2 twins. I knew them from high school, and this is some of my favorite pictures. This, I think, is my favorite picture ever. I love this so much. And then this was a 2-page spread that I did of them.
My photography classes were my favorite classes. I had a photography class, and then I had an art direction class. So this project in general, I give it a 9 out of 10.
So this was my first photography project ever in university, and I learned a lot from doing this. I thought the pictures were beautiful. I printed so many that I just didn't end up using, and they were very expensive to print. But these were the finals that I ended up going with, I believe. I'm not a huge fan of now. This one I was obsessed with at the beginning, and I don't really like it now. This one I still think is quite beautiful, but still not a huge fan. It was also freezing that day. This one I like a lot. I'm really proud in the moment, but as time has gone by, I've improved a lot.
As my first photography project in university, I give it a 7 out of 10. It was okay. I thought it was amazing. It's not that amazing, but 7 out of 10.
This was my final. I'm sure I'm gonna bump into some more photography ones, but this was my final project for photography that I ever did at Ryerson, I believe. So I had mood boards, I had model, I had hair, makeup. So it was a whole proposal. This image I love. I wish I photoshopped out this plug, but I love this. The layout's okay. The layout's pretty bad, to be honest with you. But the pictures, I love this. I love that one. This was the other double page. It was a pink moment, I believe. And I loved the 3 blazers. And then this one was very stunning as well. Overall, I really loved this photo shoot. But it wasn't one of my favorites in the end when it came to layout.
That photo shoot had so much potential, but because of the layout, I have to give it a 7 out of 10. I love the pictures on their own, but yeah.
It's funny because we had to print our portfolio at the end of first year and at the end of second year, and I think this is the one at the end of second year. So this has all the projects that I was like proud of. This one you're not going to be able to see. I never got this back from my professor, but this project I give it 10 out of 10 only because this is where I learned so much. This was branding a project, branding something of your own, and I created a brand called Voyage. I love it. I love it. You might see some more of these graphic design work that I did in second year. This was the this was the space line. This was something else that I showed you guys. This was some illustration work that I did in illustration class. Well, I rate my portfolio from my second year with 5 out of 10. This was done in first year, and this project helped shape me. It says shape and line, but it truly helped shape me. I interpreted things so differently after this project. You had to look. This was like the second week of school, and I was so excited to be at Ryerson Fashion, but you had to like, if you saw something and you saw like, but I rate this project just for developmental purposes, 8 out of 10. But this is terrible. I'll give this like a 4 out of 10. This project was the bane of my existence. I cut off a piece of my thumb, like literally I went to the hospital because when mounting this, I cut off a piece of my thumb. So I give this project a 10 out of 10 because actually creating this was insane. We had to match, like this had to look exactly like this, and you had to match the color exactly to the paint and get the perfect color.
I'm not even kidding when I say I cut off a part of my thumb. Like, this is slanted now. That's where I cut it. Anyways, it's traumatic. As traumatic as that was, learned a lot from that project. Probably, like, looking back at it, I give it like a 7 out of 10. I did an okay job. But cut off a piece of my thumb, so give it 10 out of 10.
Photography shoot. This was my first shoot, I think, ever for school. It was a Mock Celine campaign. This was the shoes. I didn't like it at first, but now it's stunning. It's stunning. This was one of my favorite shoots. 10 out of 10. I'm obsessed. It looks so good. The sun was shining. I love it. And this is one of my favorite pictures. 10 out of 10 this shoot project. And it was a lot of iterations. We had to make, I think, a Vogue magazine cover. Oh no, any magazine cover, and I did the New Yorker. And there was just so many designs and iterations of it. And then I literally came up with the ugliest one. Like, it's so ugly. Oh, huh? I don't get it. What was I thinking? Anyways, the New Yorker, if you want to hire me, I rate this project probably, it's so, like, I had other options. Here were my other options. They weren't much better, to be honest. This was the one I chose, I guess. This would have been so fun. I am obsessed with this one. I want to recreate this. But yeah.
I remember this was one of those projects where I had no time, no energy, and I didn't want to put any effort into it. Yeah, it's so ugly. I give it like a 4 out of 10. I could have done such a good job, but I
feel like I'm missing on so many other projects, but you get the gist of it. I don't feel like diving more into things, but hope you guys like this. This was one I did from Amsterdam Fashion Institute. This is something I'm very proud of. Look at this magazine. I created this with 30 other people, so it was quite the project, but spent 6 months in Amphi. 3 months creating this one specifically, so yes. This is one thing that I designed. I designed this book. It's kind of cute. I've never read this actually. I haven't read half of this, but it's beautiful.
That was done a year ago to the date. I was in Amsterdam a year ago on my exchange semester during a pandemic. That was created. It was beautiful. It was stunning. I met the most incredible people. 10 out of 10. If I could, I'll give it 11 out of 10. Like, that magazine went into print production. I think we printed 1,000. It went into stores. I was able to go to the store in Amsterdam and see the book with all the other magazines at the magazine shop it was insane. I had such a good experience. If anyone wants to do an exchange, do an exchange. Amphi, HVA, Hogeschool van Amsterdam, Amsterdam Fashion Institute. Amazing.
And that is my time at Ryerson Fashion and Amsterdam Fashion Institute, but most of this, all of this, was Ryerson Fashion. I loved this program with all of my heart. I was there for 4 years. 2.5 years. I was actually in school doing the damn thing, and then that half year I went away for exchange. I was in Amsterdam, and then my final year was all online, which is super unfortunate, but life happens. But I didn't include anything from my final year. I just wanted to go over everything from my first 3 years. My final year, I am so proud of everything that I did. Here are some examples. I created an app for myself, and I loved that so much. I learned so much from creating and designing this app. It was based on like getting clients and onboarding them. And then my final big project is Sunday Creative, and it's the thing that I'm most proud of. And all of this came down to graphic design work, and that is the field I'm going into right now. So I am a graphic designer and photographer. I am not an illustrator. I am not a fashion designer, but this is what all of these projects amounted me to becoming a photographer and a graphic designer. And I think it goes to show, after looking at these projects, how I got to that point and like why I chose the path that I chose, being able to see my strengths and being able to see my weaknesses. Like illustration, I don't even know where my final illustration like notepads are, but they're terrible. Like they are terrible. But I mean, we live and we learn. So that is my past 4 years. I get so many questions about Ryerson Fashion, and if you guys are thinking about going, go. It's fantastic. The program has changed, so do your research. But I loved it. And thank you so much to my professors and everyone who I have met. I'm excited to see where everyone goes. But I just graduated a week ago, and I needed to go through my stuff. But that's it. Okay, bye.